and good evening. Welcome to the application process, Keeping It in Perspective. I am Heather Rodriguez. I'm the director of the counseling department, and I just want to thank you all for coming this evening, and we hope that you find this presentation valuable. So I just want to let you know that there were a few conflicts that arose with this evening when it was originally scheduled, and we are repeating this exact presentation next Tuesday. For those of you in the room, you're already here, you don't need to hear it again. It will be the exact same thing. But for anyone watching on HCAM eventually, it will be on HCAM, or it will be the exact same thing will be repeated next Tuesday. So that's just for everyone to know. So tonight we have Erin Krall and Kelly McPeck here with us, and we will all be talking about parts of the application process, and then there will be an opportunity at the end of the presentation to ask questions. So tonight's topics will include the college search and selection process, the application process here specifically at HHS, the Postsecondary Planning Office, recommendations, associated forms, and the Common App and Naviance syncing process, standardized testing, important factors in college admissions reviews, and an overview of financial aid. So we hope that you guys get a lot of information from the evening, and we hope it is an informative time, and we know it's an anxious time for everyone as well. So, all right, so what's the timeline for the college search and application process? Tonight, we're going to touch on the search process, but that's more geared towards juniors. We do that at the college kickoff night in January, but we'll touch on it a little bit about tonight. Our main focus will be completing the application process this evening. So the search process usually begins in earnest, typically in the spring of the junior year. Students take the PSAT typically in October of the junior year, and they get results. Your seniors would have gotten results last December. This year, they're changing things at the College Board, and the students who are juniors this year who take the PSAT in October will get their results in January. So that will give us more data and kind of let us begin to see where they fall in the college application process. On the 26th, like I mentioned, we'll have college kickoff, and that's where we'll focus on the search process. So just for those of you who may be juniors or coming into your junior year at some point, we start seminars to talk about college planning in about February. And we reacquaint the juniors with Naviance. We help them make appropriate college lists at that point, and each student kind of follows their own timeline depending on when they feel ready to explore college. We find that all kids in high school are a little bit different. Some freshmen come in and they cannot wait to plan their future. Some seniors, we are chasing them down at this time, trying to get them to narrow down a list of colleges. So everybody kind of works on their own speed, and the counselors work hard to meet each student's individual needs. We encourage them to make an appointment whenever they need to, and we put the same out for parents. If you feel like you need more information and need to make appointments with us, we encourage you to do that whenever you need to. So what I want to emphasize most tonight is to keep this whole process in perspective. Most students will be leaving home for the first time, and they feel like they are determining right now the fate of the rest of their lives. We're here to tell you that everyone will find a range of schools that they're comfortable with and that they will want to attend. And the application process can certainly be scary, but counselors are here to help you through the process. So do not worry. All right, little technical difficulty, sorry. So what's happening right now? Counselors have started senior seminars. We have either small groups or individual meetings that build upon last year's junior seminars. Our current focus is navigating the application process, and the ultimate goal is to find schools which are the best fit academically and socially for each student. So it's hard to feel successful if all you do is study when you get to college. And without appropriate challenge, you won't learn to think about the world in new ways. So keep in mind that the quality of the school doesn't necessarily correlate with name recognition. That's something we like to stress with our kids. For seniors narrowing their list, and for juniors who may be ready to start building it, you want to know how do you know if a school is right for you? Eventually, you'll narrow down your choices and have a solid application list. It's helpful to weigh course offerings and extracurricular opportunities at the college. Some kids are more concerned with how big dorm rooms are and what the food is like at the campus. That's perfectly valid. So whatever their criteria is, you just want to seek as much information as you can. You can get to know colleges in a lot of different ways. You can visit a college campus, and that really is the best way to get to know a school. You have a chance, if you're on campus, to see the buildings, see what facilities they have, you see the students who go there, and you really get a feel of the campus in action. So visiting a campus is usually how students know if the school is right for them. The school may totally, during research, seem like it's the most amazing school on its website, but when you get on campus, it totally fails to impress you. Or kids sometimes tell me, I only visited that school because my dad made me, but they totally felt at home when they stepped foot on campus for the first time. So admissions officers welcome high school students to their campuses. It's usually best to take advantage of a visit by going on an information session and a tour. That's the official word that colleges will give you about their campus. But you also want to spend some time on your own, walk around the campus, talk to some students that are there. I know most kids out there, when your parents start to talk to students who go to the college, that's like the most mortifying thing in the entire world, but it actually is helpful. You want to see what students already there think is the best thing about their school. You'll learn a lot when you ask that question. A note to any juniors, colleges may ask if you're a junior or if you're a senior if you go to visit a campus right now. And at this point for juniors, they probably will only offer you like a general admission session. They're really focusing on the seniors, so they may not give juniors as much time this time of year, but starting in the spring, they'll give juniors a little more time. But an informal visit and a tour around campus really is all that you need at this point if you're a junior to see if you're interested in that kind of type of school. For seniors, a lot of schools offer fall open houses. They have students, faculty, coaches, and other staff available to answer questions. Usually students can sit in on classes and get a feel of the school in action. Oops, sorry. Going too far. All right, so how do you know if a school really wants to accept you? So if you can't make it to campus, you still may be able to meet a college representative. We have many of them that visit our high school during the fall. From now through about early November is when the college reps come onto our school campus. And what they do is they provide an information session and an opportunity to ask them any questions. So that's really a great thing to do if you can't get out to visit a campus in person. If the rep is coming here, that's the next best thing. The more personal contact a student can make with the college that they want to apply to, the more of an impression the admissions officer will have of their file. It helps to put a person's face and personality with their application file. Students also may want to interview with a college. Colleges vary in their approach to interviews. Some of them require interviews. That's very, very rare. Some of them don't offer them at all. And there's degrees in between. Sometimes they offer an alumni in the area who will do an interview. Sometimes they offer on-campus interviews with a student. There's really a wide range of what they do for interviews, so you just want to contact the admissions office and see what they offer in terms of interviewing. They're rarely evaluative, so that will not make or break your application by any means. It just provides you with an opportunity to express your individuality, ask any questions that you may have, and for them to kind of get a sense of who you are as a person. And applications, when admissions officers are reading them, give them an overwhelming amount of information, so making that personal connection definitely helps. So what you want to do is check college websites, and they should tell you all about their interview process. If not, you can definitely shoot an email to the admissions office. All right, so how do I know where I fall in the applicant pool? In addition to college websites, we have Naviance. It's a great tool. It allows us to investigate schools and see where HHS students fall in relation to each other. So the data that we have in there is all based on Hingham High students. It helps you investigate schools, tells you what deadlines are for the application. It links to college websites, and it helps you find out when the college representatives are coming, and you can sign up for the college reps right through Naviance. It also gives you graphs that are the best tool I think Naviance has. It gives you a visual depiction of where you fall at a given school. And it helps a student kind of see whether that school for them is a reach, a target, or a safety. So when working with our students, we pay particular attention to schools on their list. We want everyone's list to be balanced. So it shouldn't be all safe schools that you're guaranteed to get in. But it also shouldn't be all schools that are reach schools that we just want to kind of cross our fingers and hope you get in. It's our job to be conservative as counselors and make sure every student has a few safeties for both academic and perhaps financial reasons. It's often difficult for us to do that and suggest that a kid needs more safeties because we don't want them to think that we're kind of undermining their confidence in themselves, but we just want to make sure that they have several choices when the process is over. College admissions can be really subjective, and it's our job to make sure that you have choices, and that's really what that's all about. We'd rather have a student, make a hard choice among a few different acceptances than rely on the one school that they were offered admission to. So there are many pieces of the puzzle, and here, we're your counselors. We're here to help you fit all those pieces together. All right, so this is just kind of what Naviance looks like when you sign in. And this is one of those graphs, the visual depiction that I was telling you about. The red ring, if you can see that kind of in the middle, is graphing the student. So you can see if you fall in amongst all of the green boxes, which are people who got in, or if you are in a sea of red X's, which are people that did not. So it kind of gives you a sense of where you fall. So among the many features of Naviance is the ability to submit transcripts and other school information electronically. It's really, really streamlined the process from the old printing out a paper application, writing a check, giving it to the counselor, putting all the school materials together and sending it off in an envelope. It's just been amazing. So before we can do anything in terms of sending things electronically, we need to have students sign into the Common App, fill out the FERPA release, which we'll talk about in a little bit, so don't panic, and then match their Common App account with Naviance, and that will allow us to send things electronically. So we will talk about that in a couple minutes, but I also sent an email out to all students and parents. I think it was either the beginning of this week or last week with a 5-minute video on exactly how to do that. It's pretty brief and it walks you step by step through that process. The last thing that I will talk about, all right, is the Postsecondary Planning Office. This is a resource for all students, no matter what grade they're in, but the college-going office, or cohort right now that we have, just so you know, Kathy Savory is our new Postsecondary Planning Coordinator, and her role is to assist the counselor. So we kind of start everything with each student, and then we may pass them along to her for a little bit of detailed research or detailed filling out of the common application, and then we're available for our students anytime, and she is as well. So you have a couple people and a couple more resources that can help you out. This fall, the hours of her office, Monday, and this is all on our website as well, but Monday, Thursday, and Friday, she's here during regular school hours. Tuesdays is an early day, so she's here from 7 a.m. till about 1:30 in the afternoon. And Wednesdays is a later day, 11:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. So that gives students and families time. If you need to go to work early and you can't make it during the regular school day, there's a day for that where she's here early in the morning. Or if you have sports practice or activities after school, there's one day where she's here a little bit later. So that's just to help accommodate everybody's schedule. Also this fall, each Wednesday after school, from after school till 6 p.m. is a specific Common App workshop. So that's time for kids to come in, work on completing their Common Application, and she will answer any question that you need about the Common Application at that time. So that's a really great thing to go to as students start filling out their Common App. All right, so we're now going to go into more specifics about the application process at Hingham High School, and Mrs. Erin Kroll will tell you all about that.
Hello. What do I hit? Oh, no. Don't look at that yet. That's later. I don't know what to do. Okay. So I am here to help to discuss the application process at Hingham High School. And once students have completed the college search and selection process, they'll be working to put together a final list of the schools they plan on applying to. Each of us here, the student, counselor, and parent, plays a role in completing the application process. The form up on the screen is not that. Huh? No, I did it, but it's not there. I have to go backwards? There we go, sorry. Okay, this form on the screen is the record release form. This is essentially a permission slip that your children give to their counselor, allowing us to send their transcript, our letters of recommendation, and our school profile out to the colleges. We request that the form is given to us 10 days prior to any college application deadline. Okay, once we get this form, that's when the counselor knows, okay, this is the date 10 days from now, I need to have everything in order. I need to write the student's letter of recommendation, upload their transcript, the school profile, and send all the information along. So it gives us plenty of time not to miss any deadlines. Again, it's just like a permission slip, allowing us to send everything electronically or in the mail if that needs to be done. Once we have received the record release form, we will write the student's letter, as I mentioned, put together the student's transcript, as I mentioned, and send everything out along with the school profile. The student is responsible for completing and submitting the college applications. Sensitive little thing. Okay. Most colleges do accept the Common Application, and this is what it will look like when the student starts to create their own Common App account, which I think most seniors probably have done, if not are ready to do so. Most colleges do accept this. The Common App is a general application that can be completed one time and sent to a number of different schools. The Common App is an excellent tool. It will also give all the deadlines for the schools. It will also tell the student if there's any supplemental essays that need to be filled out in addition to the one essay for the prompt. And all the students were emailed the prompt from the college, the Common App, earlier in the spring and again in the fall of this year. Just go to commonapp.org to find the list of member schools. And please pay attention to any supplements or additional information the colleges may require. This information is listed on the website as well. And again, if the students have any questions, they can attend the after-school seminar or stop by their counselor to ask any questions they have. In addition to the student's responsibility, it's to pay close attention to deadlines for the individual schools. Deadlines can be found on the college's website, on Naviance, or at commonapp.org. I recommend to my students that regardless of the school's deadline, they should plan on having everything completed prior to the break in December. I also want to touch upon early applications to colleges. More and more of our students are applying early to schools and therefore contemplating early action and early decision. Early action is non-binding. A student applies early, typically 11/1 or 11/15, and then learns early whether or not they have been accepted, denied, or deferred to regular admission. Early decision is binding. By applying under this plan, a student is agreeing to attend the college if accepted. They will sign a contract stating so and will withdraw any other applications they have submitted. This is obviously not a decision to be entered into lightly, and I would caution students from agreeing to ED without a great deal of discussion with their counselor and with you as a family. Did you discuss the FERPA? A little bit. I want to discuss the FERPA. I can't. There we go. Okay, this is the FERPA part of the common application, which Heather touched upon lightly. And it is what the students need to fill out so that we can combine their Naviance account with the common app account and allowing us to send everything out. So if they haven't filled it in and we go to send their information, we can call them down and have them do it with us. It also is what they need for their teachers to be able to send out their letter of recommendation. Okay, so, oh, sure. Yes. Student's responsibility with the teacher, yeah. So that's totally separate, and now the teachers do, have a Naviance account. They've sent out, the information's been sent out to them, or they can come down and get the same help that the students need to get when trying to figure out the account. And so I would say 99% of the teachers are going to use the Naviance to send their letters of recommendation. But that's part of the process we talk to the students about, that it's their responsibility to meet with the teachers. It's their responsibility to give them the list of schools that they're applying to. And they don't have to get hung up on, but I don't know all the schools I'm applying to yet. Some students will get stuck on that, so they don't go and talk to the teacher because they feel they have to know everything now. But they don't. Even if they have their 2 or 3 schools right now with deadlines that they know they're applying to, once the teacher's written the letter, they're done. They're not going to, create one letter for each school that your child's applying to. It will be their one letter. The school won't be mentioned in the letter. So they'll write it once, they'll upload it to Naviance, and then if the student decides a school in February, they can just stop by and tell the teacher, I've added another school to my list, would you mind forwarding that letter as well? The teacher pushes the button. That's exactly what happens. That's what they do. So they write the letter, they push the button, and it's all set. And then it's a good idea for the student to follow up with the teacher or with their counselor to make sure that that letter has been submitted. Okay? Because just to follow up is a good idea. Yes?
And I know you said typically it's one counselor letter or one teacher letter, but is there any reason they can't have more than one letter?
The only reason that they should not have more than one letter is because of the amount of applications that the colleges are now receiving. And you have to think how many will the letter say anything different about that student? And if it's not going to be much different, then it may not be read, or it may be taken that the student doesn't know how to read directions. If we ask for 2 and you're sending me 4, they may just take the first 2 and throw the second 2 in the trash. So I tell my students, and I think that we all do this, if there is an extra letter above and beyond a academic letter, it's a good idea to call the admissions office and to clearly say, I can read, I do understand direction, however, I'm going to send this along. If we get stuck and they really don't want another one, I ask my students to bring me the letter written, and I can take parts of it and put it in my letter of recommendation. So there are ways to get the message across with following the directions and not giving too much to the admissions office. Okay? Okay. So now I'm going to move on to letters of recommendation. Isn't that funny? Okay, so counselors, we are all responsible for writing a letter of recommendation for each of our students. And a great deal of this information we get directly from them as we've got to know them since their time here at Hingham High School, in our meetings with you as their parents, and more specifically when we use the forms that we've sent home that are online, that have been given, that have been re-given, that have been sent home. They're everywhere. These forms you can get online, you can get these in our counseling office. The students can get them from us. One is the student questionnaire. It's coming. There you go. This is the student questionnaire, and it's one that every student gets, and we ask them to give us more than less. And the questions are designed to help your students. They're thought-provoking to get your students to write more about themselves than maybe they would feel comfortable doing in a conversation face-to-face. I always, throw it back at my students, like, give me a little bit more. And I will share this with, I won't share this with anyone, but if I think it's something that would help my letter, then it's better to give it to me than to not. So that's a great tool, and it's difficult for many of the students. We tell them all the time, don't brag about yourself, don't say how great you are, don't do this, don't do that. And now we're saying, brag about yourself, tell us how great you are. We want to hear it. And that's difficult for students. But we do encourage it at this time to help us get to know them as much as we can and to help them in this process. The next one, I don't think is that difficult for people to do because it's the parent form. So this is your time to really give us everything you want us to know or to pass along. Because secretly we know you all want to just write their letters for them and send it along to the college. So this helps us. So a lot of times the information that I get from parents, it's awesome. I mean, and we can take it and just, plop it right in to our letter. And it's very helpful, and we appreciate the time that you take to fill that out. So thank you for doing that if you have already done it. And if you haven't done it, maybe this weekend you can take the time and submit that to your counselor. And you can do that via email, you can do it on Naviance, or you can send it right in the hard paper copy. In addition to this form, there is an internal teacher form that we also ask the students to give to 1 or 2 teachers. And again, this kind of touches upon, 2 letters versus 3 letters. We do get information from a classroom teacher or 2, so the students have the opportunity to give a form to 2 teachers that maybe they had in 9th or 10th grade, or maybe it was an elective teacher and not an academic teacher. And this is a short form that the teacher can fill out and just give us some specific feedback of how they know the student in the academic setting, or maybe as a coach, or maybe both. Maybe they had them as a player on the field or running track, but they also were lucky enough to have them in the classroom. Or maybe they were the advisor to a club that they're part of. So this is also a useful tool for students to pass out to teachers that we get back. So there's the student questionnaire, the parent questionnaire, the internal teacher form, and then lastly, the paper copy that we use to help us is the activity sheet, which looks very much like the activity sheet or the page on the commonapp.org, so it's nice practice. We gave this to all of our students back in the spring of their junior year, asked them to fill this out, and it was a good time for them to take, to reflect on what they have done. Some students don't feel as though they've done anything, and they look at this form and they don't have anything to write. So I say, talk to your parents about this. They'll remember things that you have done. Talk to us, we may have records, and we'll go through this. So this can be a nerve-wracking form to fill out, but it gets done, and it's all helpful information. So that's all the data that we use, plus knowing your children one-on-one over the years is how we go about writing their letter of recommendation. And I think that's all. But we do ask that we get everything in 10 days prior, just record release form, prior to the school deadline. And that's that for that. Okay? And now Mrs. Kelly McPeck.
Have fun with that.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to be talking about 3 separate topics. So the first is the SAT and ACT, second is transcript, and third is financial aid. So lots of information. Okay, so when talking and thinking about the SAT versus the ACT, most schools require some sort of standardized test, whether that be SAT or ACT. Some students do decide to take both, just to see what their stronger areas are. And a lot of my students will say, well, what's better? Truly, both are viewed equally in the eyes of colleges and universities. So it's really the individual. Whatever their strengths are, that's the test you should go with, for sure. The next SAT test date is October 3rd. The deadline for that has passed, but there may still be a late registration where you would just have to pay an additional fee. So if there were students who really wanted to get that in, certainly go on to the College Board website to see if that's still an option. The following test after that is November 7th. And then the ACT, the first test for that is October 24th. The regular registration for that has passed, but late registration is open until October 2nd. So we're just giving you these dates only because we know that the test is on the forefront of a lot of the kids' minds. So just maybe go home and go on to both websites just so you can keep track for your individual student. The current SAT has 3 sections: critical reading, math, and writing. It is 3 hours and 45 minutes. It's scored 200 to 800 on each section. And for any juniors in the audience, the new version of the SAT will be launched March 2016. So up until that test date, it will be the old SAT. The essay, for the new version of the SAT, the essay will become optional, and there's no penalty for guessing. So those are the 2 biggest changes in the new version. It will be 3 hours and 50 minutes with the essay and only 3 hours without. So again, all detailed information that you can find on the website. When your student registers for the SAT, they do need to upload a photo of themselves. Directions are on the College Board website. They will still need to bring a photo ID with them that day, and that is super important that they remember to do that. There is no longer standby testing. Students need to register either by the regular deadline or the late deadline, which requires an extra fee. The ACT, shifting gears a little bit, the ACT has 4 sections, which include English, math, reading, and science, with an optional writing section. It is shorter, 3 hours and 25 minutes with the essay. That is scored 1 through 36. With the ACT, there are fewer test locations. Hingham is not an ACT testing site, so you just want to be clear on where you're registering if you're going to do the ACT. Some colleges are shying away from SAT and ACT requirements altogether. There is a website called fairtest.org, and that will give a list. Ourselves in the counseling office, we try to keep track and we try to stay as updated as possible, but there's always different trends and the colleges are kind of changing their tone from one year to the next. So it's always good to take that responsibility to make sure you're checking for each school. If your school is test optional, you can choose whether to send or to not send your scores. If you do, they will be considered, of course, as part of your application. If they don't, they will weigh upon everything else much heavier. So they'll look more at the transcript, at the extracurriculars, the essay, the letters of recommendation. Those will just have more weight assigned to them. If you choose to not send your scores, this is a common question among the kids. You know, if they say, well, if I don't send them, doesn't that look bad? No, you're making a smart choice for yourself. And colleges are well aware of that. So those, again, are all conversations that the student and or parent should have with the counselor to get the best advice for them. Okay. So those are the differences between SAT, ACT. Now, when it comes to sending scores, we're always reminding students that is not our responsibility. We would send them if the colleges took them, but they do not. They only deem them official if they come from the College Board directly. So as a student, you have to really think you're responsible for your application, your essay, your supplements, and sending the SAT or ACT. I think sometimes because it's testing information, they just assume we send it, but we're always reminding them that it's their responsibility. Scores are not listed on the transcripts. I just said that, I repeated myself. Contact information for either can be found on collegeboard. It's actually .org, so that's incorrect, or actstudent.org. Request for scores can be made over the phone, or in a written request, or sent online, which is, of course, the most common. The colleges will take the best scores, even if they're from separate test administrations. So if you have a student who did really strong in math in May, and they did really strong in critical reading in June, that student should send both test administration dates, and what will happen is the college or university will super score. So that is up to the college to do that. So they're going to take the best score of each. So again, I'm just thinking of the students' concerns when they say, but my critical reading was so low from, you know, the May test date. That's okay. They're going to pull your strengths, and we'd rather see them in both areas. Okay. Okay, so that's sending scores. And then next, subject tests, which are not required for every school. The more competitive schools will require that as part of their admission criteria. So again, there's just so many different requests for each school, and we know it's overwhelming. So we always advise the kids to make a chart for themselves to see who's requiring supplements, who's requiring subject tests, because there's no way they could keep track of it all in their head. So it certainly can be a lot of information for them. Typically, if a school is going to require a subject test, they look for 2, at the most 3, but it's typically 2. We always tell students, you know, when they say, which subject test should I take, they want to take a subject test that they feel really strong in. So if they do really well with math, they should try the math level 1 or level 2. So they can always have that conversation with their counselor as well. Just important to keep note for language and listening subject tests, that's only offered in November, so that's exclusive to that date. And then lastly about SATs is just talking about, oh, it's really not going, prep courses. So there are a couple of different companies that we have been in touch with us, and they've come in and they've done practice sessions. So those are information that we can certainly share with the students. You know, sometimes they do better one-on-one, sometimes they're okay in a class setting. So again, it's really up to the student to kind of determine where they think they'd be best fit. So we can help them determine that. And we also have a course here at the high school through our continuing ed office, which offers courses leading up to those test dates. So lots of information. Okay. So that is the logistics of SAT, ACT. Now I'm going to move on to the high school transcript. So, okay. I think that's okay. Everybody can see that enough. Okay. So first I'm just going to talk about what the actual transcript looks like, the basics of it, the information that's actually listed on it, and then we can talk a little bit about how that relates to the actual admission process. So if you notice on the high school transcript, the level, course title, and final grade, as well as the credits earned, are noted on the transcript. So as you can see, I'm sure most of you have seen a transcript, but it's not individual by term. It's the complete average, final average of every course for every term, but for the final year-end grade. There is an explanation of the different levels on top of the transcripts. You can see 1 is AP, 2 is honors, 3 is college prep, and 4 is standard. And you'll see that, you know, with all of the things that we're sending on Naviance, our school profile really is our explanation for the transcript. So most of the colleges and universities that our students are applying to, they're familiar with Hingham's transcript and our curriculum, but they can always look to that school profile to help them explain the grading and the levels. So that's always sent with it. And that's sent for every kid, for every school. So that's just a universal thing. If you notice, the GPA is listed in the top right-hand corner, and it's based on a 4.0 weighted scale. So a lot of these questions are asked of the student in the common application, and they'll come down and say, is my GPA weighted or not weighted? So those are questions that might come up, and you can direct them to us. But for your reference, it is a weighted GPA scale. Both academic and electives are shown on the transcript, but only the major core courses are factored into the GPA. GPA is weighted, which will account for the level of instruction as well as the rigor of the curriculum. And it is important to know that regardless of the number that we give them, when we send a transcript off to a college, they will absolutely 100% recalculate the GPA. They all have different ways of measuring and different ways of scaling and everything, but know that when we send it off, they're going to be recalculated anyway for that individual college. A student's GPA is officially reported 3 times throughout their high school career, once at the end of their junior year, which is their 6th semester, again after the mid-year completion of their senior year, which would be 7th, and then the final at the end of their senior year. However, if students want to come down and check now with our new, it's not new software, probably like 3 or 4 years old, but they can come down and check with us, and now their GPA is constantly calculating. So that's good for them to know. As you can see, and Ms. Kroll also mentioned, there are no activities or sports or clubs or anything that is listed on the transcript, which reiterates the importance of them supplying all that information to us so it can be written in the letter or that it's on their activity sheets or activity section in the Common App. Students that are in GCP, which is Global Citizenship Program, or NHS, National Honor Society, those are listed on the transcript, but those are the only 2. And again, you've noticed that SATs are not mentioned. So that's kind of the basics of the transcript, what it looks like, what it looks like when it's sent to colleges. In terms of admission, when an admissions counselor looks at a file to review for a decision, the transcript will be the first thing that they pull out of the file, most definitely. It's the most essential. All the other criteria will, of course, weigh into the decision, but that will be the first thing that they certainly review. The biggest thing that they relate to us and that we then relate to the students, they want to see that they've challenged themselves appropriately. That's kind of the key word. They want to see that they're taking advantage of the curriculum, which it's a fine line because they don't want to see them completely overwhelmed, taking all APs and getting all maybe C minuses. They want to see that they have strengths in certain areas, they've challenged themselves. Maybe if they've taken level 3, freshman, sophomore year, they tried to challenge themselves junior year. So it's trends that they're looking for, it's improvements that they're looking for, different things that they're passionate about. I've always told my kids it's really nice for them to show continuity with something. If they can take Child Development 1 and then Child Development 2, it's nice. It shows that the student's committed to a certain type of program. So those are things that they'll look at. If there's a certain class where a student really felt like they struggled or they had difficulty with a teacher, those are things that we ask the student to share with us in conversation. Of course, we won't explain the situation in detail to the college, but we can kind of touch upon it to say, that student really struggled, or they were out with an illness, or there was a death in the family. Life happens. And admissions people are human. So I think they do appreciate the reality that things do happen and that these kids are experiencing things from year to year. So we're here to serve as that person to help communicate that to a college. Anything that they feel like they want to address in person, they can do so in interview, but we're happy to be that other voice for them. Final transcripts are required to be sent to the school your son or daughter chooses to enroll in. So we always tell them, after you get in, don't slack off, which I know can be very tempting because they've worked so hard and they get into that school and then they kind of feel like, Mrs. McPack, can I drop that history class second semester? No. The answer is no. Because now and more I feel college admissions people are looking to see that the student is continuing to challenge themselves. Now more and more they're asking for the first term grades, they're asking for mid-year grades, they're continuing to follow up. So we just want the student to be proud of what they've done. Of course they're human and teenagers and they get spring fever very quickly. So we know that they're gonna maybe slack a little bit, but we just don't want there to be any big nosedives with anything. So we're constantly giving them that message. So feel free to echo that at home as well. So that kind of wraps up just the transcript portion. Lastly will be financial aid. Okay. This tonight will just be a quick overview because we're not financial aid experts at all. We do have a comprehensive financial aid night that is offered every year at the high school. This year it is December 1st. At 7 p.m. and that will be in the auditorium. It's super helpful. It just breaks down the process. So I would encourage all of you certainly to attend that evening. The most important thing to stress in the financial aid process, same goes for application process as well, is meeting deadlines. We just have to be really careful that we're not missing any windows of when we should be submitting information. You want to check your deadlines to ensure that you'll be eligible for all the funds that are available to you and your student. If you want to receive financial aid from the government or an institution, the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, must be completed. Students and parents may obtain this required form at www.fafsa.ed.gov. Please keep in mind that you can obtain a PIN number at any time, but you cannot start the actual application process until January 1st. So for just like your own, I think, sanity to think from now until before Christmas break is when you focus on the applications and getting all of that squared away, and then start the financial aid process. You're like, wow, this is a real fun year. Okay, students may also be required to fill out the CSS Profile. So that's not required for every school. You have to just go on to see if it is something that they do require. That's a non-federal financial aid application serviced by the College Board, and it's required mostly by private schools. That's available sooner, which is October 1st. Hingham High School is fortunate that we have a local scholarship which grants financial aid to a large number of graduating seniors. There is one application. If they fill out this one application and give this back to us, it makes them eligible for so many. So it's really, really a big deal. We're always trying to stress to the kids, no matter what your financial situation, the kids should absolutely fill out the form and make sure they get it into us. It's available in January. It's going to be posted on our website, I believe. And then also the deadline will be March. So we haven't actually set the deadlines, but just know that time frame. And the deadline in March is a very hard deadline. So it's usually a Friday, that first week of March. And if it's not in by 3 p.m., we do not accept it. So please just be vigilant when hearing about that, because it's an amazing opportunity for the kids. Let's see. There are other sources of funding that are available on Naviance. So we used to have a basket down in our counseling office. Now we've been keeping up with the times and putting a lot of those onto Naviance. So feel free to go on and to take a peek to see if there's anything that your son or daughter maybe would be eligible for. That can be helpful. And then there's a number of different application websites which we also put on our website. So this is what the local, sorry, just to backtrack, this is what the local scholarship form looks like, and that's the one that will be due back in March. And then there's a list of websites on our website that you can refer to. And then, because I'm a Shark Tank fan, they came out with an app, the Scholly app. I don't know if any of you watch it, but it's a new app that the students are so attached to their phones, it's kind of great to give them an app that is actually meaningful and useful. So the Scholly app is something that they can just use. They put in some criteria and it just gives them a list of different scholarships they can apply to. So we're trying to tell our students about it. I think last year was the first year that students really tried it, and we got some good feedback, so please feel free to share that with your son or daughter. And I think that's it.
All right, so we'll be opening it up to questions in 1 second, but I just want to stress again, definitely try and keep this whole process in perspective. We're here to help guide you and your students, and it's a long journey, but it's a rewarding one. They will be finding schools that are great matches for them, and when they do that, they will definitely find college a lot more fulfilling. So that concludes the informational part of the evening. So we're going to give you a chance to ask some questions. It's a hard room to kind of hear, so stand up, be loud when you ask your question. I'll try and repeat it, and we'll answer them for you. So, all right, who has a question? Or were we so thorough? Okay, go ahead. So the December 1st financial aid night is after early action and maybe early decision deadlines are due, that's okay, because you can't even start applying for federal aid until January 1st. And so what you want to do is, if you are applying early decision, that is binding. So if you get in, you have to go to that school, and so you're kind of saying, we will work it out financially if we get accepted to the school. If you're a person who can't afford to do that and needs to compare some aid packages, early decision really isn't for you. Early action may be better for you because it's non-binding. Fill out the financial paperwork, you get the decision back early, then you know what your award packages will be, and you can kind of compare, and you have until May 1st to decide. Okay. What else? Yes. Scolly is S-C-H-O-L-L-Y. And I too am a fan of Shark Tank, so I saw that as well. What else can we tell you? Yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear anything. Oh, why do we not rank? That is a good question. So if you go to the, before I give you an exact answer, if you go to the hinghamhighschool.weebly.com or hinghamhighschoolcounseling.weebly.com, that's our website, you can link to the full report that was done when the committee initially met, and you can kind of go through all the research on there if you're interested. But the short answer is, the committee decided that basically, because every high school has a different grading procedure, a different grading standard, a different GPA system, that if we say you're number 1 at Hingham High School, or you're number 34 at Hingham High School, or 123 at Hingham High School, that's too easy for a college to say, okay, they're number 123 here, and then at Quincy, they're number 119, so this person is higher than this person. It's not that equal. If we don't rank, we kind of force those schools to look more into the students' other information, their transcript. What level of classes did they take? Did they take advantage of the curriculum that was given to them? So that we can't kind of let them do the easy thing and just compare ranking numbers, because we're not equal to other high schools. We have a very strong, I'm not saying we're better than all other high schools out there, although we were ranked in Newsweek, just putting another plug, as the 114th best high school in the nation. But other than that, we have a strong curriculum, so we want them to kind of look at what the student brings to the table, instead of, doing an easy, were they number 33 versus number 34? So I hope that helps a little bit.
And they can take the time, because they are given the student's GPA, they are given the number of students in the class, and they are given the weight of the class that they're taking. So the admissions office can ballpark.
Right, all that profile contains all of that data, and they can get a sense of the Hingham High, and most of the reps that work with us have history with us, so they kind of know our strength of curriculum in our program. And I know this question comes up a lot. Some of the service academies absolutely require you to give them a rank. Obviously, we can put GPAs in order, so we can come up with a decile or an exact rank if we need to, but we just don't publish it for those purposes. Question down here.
Is there a common application workshop tomorrow?
Yes.
Sorry, not tomorrow, next Wednesday?
Yes, it's every Wednesday until further notice, common application workshops. Yep.
Starting tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah, and if you can't make the workshop, you can always call and make an appointment with your student and yourself with Miss Savory. She does individual appointments too. Oh, so email to contact her, Savory, SAVERY, @hinghamschools.org. Anything else? All right, thank you very much for coming this evening. We really appreciate it. Have a great night.